If you are under 2000 elo and you struggle in the opening, you don't know what to do after the opening, this video will change everything. I recommend you play this move d4. Very simple opening, but it's so powerful you can go for delivering a checkmate immediately. Pretty much everything, every opening they play, if that includes the move d5. If they play g6, that is one exception, and I'm happy to illustrate. Many of you have asked me how to play against g6. This is my system. I placed the bishop to g1. By the way, I covered this line as well as all of the other in my 10-day opening master course, all in one opening repertoire, both for white and black. And on top of that, you get a full month of live coaching with me completely for free. It's included in the course. Please check out the link in the description. There is an incredible offer right now. So the point is, you castle here, your bishop is very, very strong, and we still do the same as I recommend in the Colli-Zukertort system. The second bishop goes to b2. I have an entire playlist on that as well, so check it out afterwards. And the point is, the bishop on d3 is not that great against this g6 pawn formation. It's literally very difficult to get through it. Whereas here, the bishop is controlling the entire diagonal, and it's going to be very powerful, just as this one. They can play different stuff. c5 is the main move. By the way, we are playing against a very strong, fast, almost 2200 rated opponent. So that will be very instructive. So this is the point to see how powerful this bishop is. The next step is we want to fight for the center. We want to play c4. We want to finish our development. Nothing really fancy. I don't want you to memorize openings. I want you to focus on the key strategic idea. In the opening, it's getting ready for the battle. Fighting for the center, bringing your pieces out, and making sure your king is safe. All right, queen to b6. I don't think it's so great here. They're supposed to play d5, but that is a tough move to find. Like, you already played d6. Doesn't seem to be so easy. But here, we can just continue knight to c3. Although, one exception, you always and always focus on one strategic idea. This is the best strategy in chess. But one exception is every time your opponent makes a move, try to understand what is the threat. And here, he just attacks my knight. Knight c3 wouldn't be possible. How do I solve that? Well, let's just play e3 and protect it. As simple as that. Because I really want to put this knight here, it can go further to the center, d5, where it's going to be very powerful. And also open up my rook. See what my opponent does. He can play bishop g4, attacking my queen, but we can just go to d2. The queen is generally going to d2 anyway, where it protects the bishop, and we are ready to create some troubles for our opponent along the long diagonal. This is where most of the players start making mistakes, because they don't know what to do in chess, right? Okay, they memorized a few first moves, but what to do afterwards? Well, you have to have this one strategic plan. And you make all of the moves either to help you achieve that goal or to stop your opponent's counterplay. But you don't waste any time, nothing else. Because if you're trying to catch many goals, you're going to get nothing. My strategic goal here is to play in the center, bring my knight out, bring my rook out, and knight d5. That is the idea, to attack pretty much everything. The knight will be so powerful in the center, but of course I need to do it in the right moment under the right circumstances. To understand that, I have to keep an eye on my opponent's counterplay. But you see that this bishop on g2 is really much more powerful here than it would be on d3. That is the only exception where I don't play bishop d3, and I play bishop g2 when they play g6 and bishop g7. I don't want to do anything special, and you don't want to like crush your opponent in 5 moves, 10 moves. It doesn't work like that normally in chess. Instead, you want a normal, solid development. This is the key to success in chess, and especially in the opening. You base it around the main principles and the main ideas of the opening you play. That way you also put a lot of pressure on your opponent. He wastes a lot of time because he has no idea what to do. Yes, it doesn't seem like you create a lot of huge dangerous threats, but on the other hand, what is your opponent supposed to do? We have this clear idea about what he has. This queen is over here, which is like one idea to attack on the queen side, whereas the bishop is going here, which is another idea to attack on the king side. And when you do that, in the end you achieve nothing. Your opponent has a very solid position, that is us in this case, and like, I don't see anything for him. Yes, rook d8. It seems like you're improving your piece, but in fact, it doesn't help you at all. You can never play d5. Like, what on earth do you want to achieve? Maybe you want to play e6 and then d5 would be possible. But there would be another problem. This bishop would suddenly have 0 squares to go, so I can start chasing it, and all of a sudden it would be stuck and lost. So, really difficult for black to figure out what to do. And it's not like I want to play knight d5 immediately, because I think that's going to help my opponent a lot. He's going to exchange one knight, another knight, and the more pieces he exchanges, the simpler it gets for him. And you don't want to do that. You want to apply as much pressure on your opponent as possible instead. I'm going to develop step by step, bring my rooks out. In the best case scenario, you always want every single one of your pieces to be developed. It's like your warriors, and it's stupid not to use it in the fight, right? Maybe I even want to play h3 and g4 to expand on the king side a little bit, thanks to the fact that this queen is over there. But you want to be careful. You don't want to attack too much with the pawns if the center is opened up, because that might be dangerous. Alright, he takes here, which improves my pawn structure. I really want to take with the pawn. Now I can attack along the e-file. The key here is your strategic idea can change. Like, I had this thing to bring the knight to d5, but he made a huge change in the position, and now that idea, I don't feel that it's powerful anymore. And that's fine. But I have got another advantage. My pawn structure is better now, and I have a weakness to attack. So I switch my strategic plan, but it still stays like one idea that all of the moves I'm making to achieve that. This is important. At the same time, of course, I want to guide myself on those principles, like bringing all of the pieces out. So I can combine all of that. I can play rook e1, rook e3, then double the rooks along the e-file, and good luck trying to save that pawn. You cannot play e6 because this bishop is going to be trapped. All right, rook e8, always watch out for your opponent's ideas. Maybe he wants to play e5. But then the knight d5 idea becomes interesting again. If he just exchanges, then this d6 pawn would be just very bad. I cannot play rook d1 though, of course. The bishop is controlling that. Another question is, do I want to play the move d5? That's gonna open up this guy, making it a monster, but shut down this guy. The advantage is it kind of stops the e5 idea, or at least makes it almost useless, because I'm going to take and you're going to be stuck with those weaknesses. For that reason, I think d5 is a good idea. Now I will be able to again go on with my plan. Everything to achieve one goal. Even though my opponent has developed all of the pieces, I still don't see what he's doing. And this is such a huge advantage of this opening. It's easy to play for you, yet you create so much pressure on your opponent. He has to spend a lot of time and still hard to figure out what to do. And that is almost 2200 rated opponent. Imagine, what if you play this opening against someone of 1000 rating or 1500? You're gonna crush them if you use the ideas correctly and you're careful with your opponent's counterplay. This is exactly what I try to help you with my videos. One idea, additional one that I noticed now, is to play knight b5, because in general I want to relocate this knight. Maybe not immediately, of course, I can start with developing my rook, but as an idea. So this knight can be remaneuvered to d4, where it's going to be more powerful, controlling some important squares. But also, it creates this plan of bishop to d4. You might think, okay, we are playing to win a pawn. Maybe in some lines we are going to win a pawn, but we can actually even trap the queen. Like imagine I play knight b5, he goes a6, and now bam, bishop to d4 in the center of the board. The queen has 0 moves to go. We just trap it. a5 is not possible. The queen is controlling that. And a6 he played with the pawn. So knight to b5 and bishop d4 is actually a super powerful idea. I think queen b6 is just the wrong place for this queen. Yeah, that is why he goes backwards. Notices that it's quite serious. Now we can play knight to b5 with the tempo, attacking both the pawn and the queen. He cannot go back. Probably he wants to go there to b8. Now if we play bishop d4, he can play a6. And seems like we need to go backwards. It's still good for us. I quite like it. His queen is very passive. Although maybe he wants to play b5 then. Or we can just play knight b5 while we can do that, and then just go on with rook e1, and if he plays a6, just play knight to d4. That feels incredibly reasonable, to be honest. Let's go for it. Why do I want to have my knights on d4? Because the knight in the center, if your opponent cannot get rid of it, is super powerful. It's controlling so many squares. For example, a typical plan of a6, b5 wouldn't be possible. I'm gonna play knight to c6 and fork all of my opponent's pieces. Also, e5 would be so much more difficult because the knight would be controlling that square. So I'm playing rook e1. Maybe there was an alternative, I don't know, queen to a5 and knight c7, but that is too fancy. You don't want to play fancy chess. You want to play simple and solid and put the entire pressure on your opponent. You even do that without wasting any real time. Rook e3. I have to be careful with bishop h6. Always and always, doesn't matter how great your move seems to be, think in terms of your opponent's response, but I can just cover it with f4. And then my bishop is great along the diagonal, I don't see any troubles. So let's go for it. He played queen c8, probably he wants to play bishop h3, but since my rook is not there, that's not a problem, I can step back. Maybe then he has knight g4. But then I can go back to e2 in a station where he cannot attack me anymore, so that's fine. And his pieces, unless he's like super dangerous in the attack, which I don't see, they are going to be just stuck. And eventually, yeah, I'm going to create some problems here in the center. Maybe even remaneuver that knight to g5. Okay, he goes for that. Now I wanted to play f4. Maybe g5, but I don't believe in that. I think he's... Oh, maybe it's better than I think about it. Okay, he goes for that, but now just rook e2. Rook e1, the diagonal is opened. The important thing is all of my pieces are doing some useful job. Don't have any unemployment in your camp. Those pieces, they feel like extremely passive. This bishop on h6, also now that he cannot play g5, I don't see what it does there. I can even play knight f3 later on. Maybe he wants to play queen c5, and like my king cannot really get rid of it. Step by step, bishop f3, king h1, then it's all good. But first, rook e1. Remember that strategic idea. My opponent is making a lot of moves, trying to stop my strategic idea. What I'm doing is I'm trying to improve my position and at the same time stop my opponent's threats. That's the approach that you should try to follow. I'm thinking maybe after queen c5, I can even play rook c1 and b4 and d5. Just pushing everything forward, winning some time. Wait a second. You play queen c5, maybe I can play b4 immediately, sacrificing that pawn, but then I play rook c1 and he almost has 0 squares to go, but unfortunately that pawn is hanging. That felt like an incredible idea. Okay, he goes for e5. Well, that helps me a lot, I think. First, I think I have to take, but also it's great for me. This bishop is now a monster, just as this one, super powerful. I still have to be careful with that, but like bishop d5 check, and then this is so powerful. I cannot believe he can survive there. But to be perfectly ready for all of that, I want to finish my development and bring the last piece into the game, at the same time creating a threat of just taking that pawn. e5, I think bishop d5 check, because before playing knight to a3 back, I obviously want to improve this bishop, especially if I can do that with a check, it's even more powerful. Now I want to see where the king is going, because if it goes here or here, this is like really a gift for this bishop, but if it goes here, I also don't think it's going to be super safe. I'm still not sure how I'm going to use that, but I know that if you have so many of your pieces active, you have such a huge space advantage, then it must mean something. For example, I think after knight f3 and takes, I can play queen d4, threatening some horrible checkmates, basically in one move. My knight is hanging anyway, so let's do that. He's not obliged to take, of course, because this pawn is pinned. I'm not threatening to take. But okay, I can play queen c3 next move, or queen to b4 next move. Ah, now queen c5 is actually possible. Interesting. I could have sacrificed somehow, but again, queen c5 is a bit annoying. Maybe I want to play knight to g5. Like changing the bishop should be nice for me, as well as opening up this file. But yeah, it has drawbacks. He actually takes. Wow, allowing me to take advantage of that. Maybe he wants to play knight to e5, but I'm gonna take it. Like, take everything and get through. Queen to c5 check might be his idea, and then knight f2. I take it. Takes here, I take back. He plays queen takes f2. And then do I have a checkmate? Yes, I have a checkmate. Queen f6, queen f7. That is a checkmate. So I think queen c3 is not possible to stop. Queen d4 I don't want to play for the obvious reason. He can play queen c5, pinning my queen, and that would be an exchange. Yes, I think that is winning. Right now, queen h6, queen h8 is just a checkmate in one threat. And you see the power of those bishops. That's exactly the point of the entire opening. I hope you can use it. I talk 1000 times deeper into these ideas in my 10-day opening mastery course. Right now, there is a super offer, a month of live coaching with me. Check it out in the description. While I'm trying to give a checkmate here. I understand, like, he's gonna take there and threaten a checkmate, and that feels super dangerous, but I'm just the first one to give him the checkmate. Okay, he tries to block it, but I'm gonna take everything. You cannot play bishop g7, that would be a desirable move, but I have knight g6 check and queen g7 checkmate. Otherwise, I'm gonna just take everything that moves along the e-file, and sooner or later, I'm gonna open it up, and that's all she wrote. And this bishop helps me, like, it controls everything. He would be happy to maybe sacrifice a rook, but he's just not in time. Yeah, just take it. If you take with the rook, I don't know, I think the simplest is to take with the queen. And if rook takes d5, I just play queen to h8 anyway. Or maybe queen a8. Queen a8 would be a checkmate. Yeah, that feels completely winning. It's all about this one idea, attacking along the e-file, getting to the king, and now we are about to deliver a checkmate. Sacrifices the queen, but that doesn't help. Here is exactly how you beat your opponent with this beautiful opening, and in this playlist, you can learn more about it and crush everyone under 2000 elo.